Mike, have you ever come across gargoyle stories when studying cryptozoology? I mean, that's not really something that's come up, quote, seriously when it comes to cryptozoology.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say gargoyle specifically, but definitely things that could, I guess, fit the description of a gargoyle. I mean, even really think about it, Mothman could be interpreted as a gargoyle.
You know, I noticed that when looking up gargoyle stuff is that there was a lot of link to other cryptids that they were saying it could be a gargoyle or it was related, like Mothman and even the Jersey Devil. I have a sighting we'll go over later to where they actually said it looked like what the Jersey Devil was said to have looked like. Interesting linking with other cryptids, but
yeah,
without people just saying gargoyle, like making its own entity.
I don't think specifically, other than one we'll talk about later, I don't think I've heard anything being called a gargoyle specifically.
Yeah, I had a hard time finding stuff on gargoyle specific sightings or anything like that, but there are a couple, and it kind of spurred me to look at gargoyles as a whole. I mean, I've never really been interested in gargoyles. They've always been cool.
I loved the cartoon that was on in the 90s.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really
that show
came
was
up.
Awesome.
It was, man. That show was great. Half the cast was from Star Trek: The Next Generation too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you know they still do like a convention for the show?
I'm sure, man. It's beloved. They're just talking about bringing it back. I understand.
Dude, that would be so awesome to have that show come back.
Yeah.
Do you remember the later seasons of the show when it was Goliath and his daughter and maybe the detective lady? They went on this magic boat and they just kind of drifted into the mists, and whenever they came out of the mists, they were at a different place and in a different time, and they had to do their adventure there, and then they got back on the boat and went into the mists, and they were trying to find their way back, but they kept coming up to all these different places. It's pretty awesome.
No, I don't remember that at all.
Do you remember Goliath having a daughter who showed up like randomly in the later seasons?
Yes, I remember her.
Yeah. That show fucking ruled.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, but that's what mostly came up when I tried to research gargoyles. I had to laugh because it just, after the fifth mention of, the cartoon show, I was like, I want a gargoyle to be a cryptid. But like I said, I had to look at gargoyles as a whole, and it was interesting just to read about the whole myth and stuff like that. Have you ever taken an interest in them as just artifacts and sculptures?
Yeah, I used to collect them when I was in high school and college.
Really?
I had a little collection of them. Yeah, I've lost most of them now. I think I still have a few kicking around my house here, but most of them I don't know, they've become lost to time.
Yeah, I definitely got that urge to start looking for cool figurines and sculptures of gargoyles to collect myself. After reading about them, it's pretty fascinating. I wasn't aware, but a gargoyle is not a gargoyle. Before there were gargoyles, they were called grotesques, which is the perfect name for it.
Yeah, it is.
I also found out that a group of gargoyles is called an audacity.
That's fun.
Yeah. But for anybody who doesn't know, a grotesque is a stone carving of what normally is mythical monsters, beasts, and what can only be described as demons, right?
Yeah, I think that's what the idea was when they were making him, was to make him like demonic. Weren't they supposed to be like so terrifying that they would even scare away the evil spirits? Wasn't that part of the deal with gargoyles? Well,
they originally started, I mean, they put decorations on the tops of buildings since Egyptian times. That's one thing I found funny when I was trying to research like the origins of gargoyles and grotesque, is I couldn't find anything. And when I did, I finally found an article that almost worded it verbatim, like, "Hey, stupid, are you trying to find out the history of gargoyles? They've existed since buildings have existed, so that's why you're not finding anything." So they've been around since the beginning of time, basically, as buildings, but grotesque are just decorations, and gargoyles are actually carved and made and built in a way to where they direct water away from buildings. So that's the difference between the two. But by the 12th century, they were commonplace on churches and stuff, and some other buildings, but mainly churches. And it was said originally that the Pope at the time ordered sculptors to carve, quote, priests of stone, along with animals and creatures, mention the Bible with scenes from the Bible, so that the illiterate could see the stories and people and teachings of Christianity. But at some point, while the Christians were trying to convert the pagans, they noticed that the images of the beasts and monsters proved more effective when freaking out the heathens into joining up with the Christians.
God, those devious pricks.
So,
like, you know those gods that you worship? They're actually demons. Look at these evil depictions. Like, oh my God, I had no idea.
After that, the sculptors pretty much stuck with the more frightening imagery. Not everybody was a fan. There's a quote from an 11th century French abbot named Bernard, who was quoted as saying, "What are these fantastic monsters doing in the cloisters before the eyes of the brothers as they read? What is the meaning of these unclean monkeys, these strange savage lions and monsters? To what purpose are here placed these creatures, half beast, half man, or these spotted tigers? I see several bodies with one head, and several heads with one body. There is a quadruped with a serpent's head. There's a fish with a quadruped's head. Then again, an animal half horse, half goat. Surely, if we do not blush for such absurdities, we should at least regret what we have spent on them." So a lot of people didn't like them. But it was funny because you mentioned how they're made to ward off evil spirits. And there's a bunch of different legends surrounding gargoyles and why they were made. But my favorite was of this dude named Saint Romanus, I think is the name. But he's the bishop of a place in France called Rouen. And it's a northern city in France at the time. But he was a scribe, a clerical sage, and again, a bishop. But he was said to have received notice that the most northern part of his little area there in his hood was being terrorized by a dragon named Gargoyle, I think is how you pronounce it. Gargoyle. Hey, we got a problem with Gargoyle. So he went there to go deal with this dragon, and there's a couple different stories if he just subdued it with a cross, but there's a couple things that kind of carry into traditions they have today. They said that he went there to the town that was being terrorized and said that he was going to stop it, and he asked if there was going to be any volunteers that would be willing to go with him. And he got one volunteer, which was a condemned man, a guy who was sentenced to die. So he said, "Fuck it, I'll go with the saint dude and try to kill a dragon," which they did. Some say he just subdued it by making the sign of the cross or using his magical cross. And other people say he just beat its ass. And they took it back to...
Isn't that similar to the story of St. George and the dragon?
Yes. Very similar, actually. I was just listening to our episode on that to compare it to this. It's very similar. But they ended up taking down this dragon, and he brought it back to town, and they went to burn the dragon, and the head and neck wouldn't burn, and it was tempered from eons of breathing fire, I guess. But they said it wouldn't burn, and they placed the head on the wall specifically to protect against evil spirits. So that belief is in part true, I guess.
But is it really true, or is it just folk legend?
Yeah, I mean, even in that legend alone, there's so many variations. But there's I guess yearly they take out this box of relics that are related to this bishop. I forget what they call it. I'm a dickhead and I forgot to write it down. But it's just special, I guess, event or holiday. I don't know. But they, on that day afterwards, they would grant pardon for one condemned prisoner a year on that day as like recognition of the battle that Romanus had with his condemned volunteer companion fighting this dragon. But yeah, it's mainly gargoyles are mainly found in European churches and stuff like that, but there's plenty of places in the United States that have gargoyles. A few famous places in the United States that have them is the University of Chicago has some pretty amazing gargoyles. The Woolworth Building in New York, the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine in New York has some pretty awesome gargoyles. But there's quite a few places in the United States that have some. And I watched a short documentary. It's pretty old. It was like from the 70s, late 70s. But I guess in the United States and even in Europe, they started to get very lighthearted with what their gargoyles looked like. There's a lot of joke ones doing inappropriate stuff. There's even a rash of American gargoyle carvers who make gargoyles of each other. They even point out, side-by-side photos of certain carvers with gargoyles that are on different buildings in different parts of the United States that are of them, just as them giving each other a little nod. So you can find goofy ones as well as the demonic-looking ones and the animals. And they all have meanings, different things that they represent, which, again, there's so many variations, and it'd be silly to go over all of them now.
No, I want a very detailed list of every single kind and every combination, and I want you to point out which animals are being represented in which ones and which ones are people, and I want all the details, exhausting details.
A fish means water. Okay, no, that's where I'm.
No, the fish means the desert. Damn it! It's all subversion.
But there's plenty of gargoyles as that are people, like famous church figures that have been made into gargoyles, and not just demons to scare people. There's depictions of some people being tortured, people in agony. There's some people that are just laughing and smiling. Some have been made like a commemorative type of deal. So there's no real limit to what can be used as a gargoyle, really. They just like the old scary ones because it spooked out the pagans into believing into the Jesus.
Have you ever heard of the Sheila Nagig?
No.
Oh, man. They're these sculptures that are found. A lot of them are found on churches for some reason. But they're found in Great Britain, Ireland. There's even been a few found in France and Spain. But it depicts this woman with really big pendulous breasts, like she's been breastfeeding 27 kids. And she's got her legs spread and she's spreading her labia, which is oversized like to her knees, and is just got her hands inside of it and is pulling, like spreading it wide open.
My kind of lady. I actually did run into this gargoyle doing some research. There's actually a PJ Harvey song where that's called this character's name.
Oh,
she
really?
talks about, yeah. But yeah, she's it's definitely a little bit more than spread eagle.
Yeah. It's very extreme, but it's just funny because like these demonic things are on churches, and then you've got these carvings on churches. It's weird. It's weird to have these sorts of things on churches when they usually talk against evil and against sex stuff. Like, to me, that seems like it's a very pagan symbol.
Very true. That's a good point. They should make it like interactive. You can throw like coins in it or something.
Beanbag toss.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they could just be like, yeah, it's our collection box. It's old. We're sorry.
You get a little Jesus sticker if you make the beanbag in the inside the hole.
Yikes.
Yeah.
The message, you can put anything in there.
And then the message to girls is that don't turn out like her. Look, if you're a floozy, then some little girl will be throwing beanbags at your vagina. I don't want that to happen.
Neither does the Bible.
Yeah, neither does the Bible.
But it was definitely cool to see all the different types of gargoyles. I was actually able to check out a few books from the library. I found a really cool book called American Gargoyles, Spirits in Stone. by Darlene Christ. And it's heavily photo based, but it just went around all the ones in America, and even the gargoyle carvers that are out today. I mean, they do an amazing job. They make them look gothic and old. It's fucking cool. In 1724, the London Building Act passed by the Parliament of Great Britain made the use of downpipes required on all new construction. So that's why buildings stopped having gargoyles. So I guess, I mean, they would commonly just fall off and kill people. So I guess it's a better idea.
Yeah, I could see that, like with, especially in cities that have higher pollution and maybe acid rain, things like that. It's just you're just begging for some poor soul to walk underneath and get impaled on a gargoyle horn or something.
Yeah, it happens like in every comic book, right? They always fall off and kill innocent bystanders.
Sometimes they're blown up by pumpkin bombs.
Yeah, or Batman just stands on them in the rain.
Yeah, and looks all cool. Spider-Man's guilty of that sometimes too, though.
So is Daredevil.
Yeah, oh, Daredevil loves it. That's like his bread and butter.
I'm actually looking at a poster of Daredevil standing on a gargoyle right now.
Perfect.
I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, but looking at gargoyle stuff and trying to find a sighting, trying to make a gargoyle cryptid, because I came across a story that you're going to cover. I was stoked to hear this story because the guy calls it a gargoyle. He doesn't link it to Mothman. And there's a couple of quick cases I'll go over to where, like you said, they link it to other things, but they don't know what to call it. They didn't call it the Jersey Devil. They said it looked like it. But the case you're going to talk about, I mean, this guy swore up and down that this was a gargoyle.
Yeah, this case happened, I believe it was in 1986. But it was a sighting at the NASA, what was it called? The Johnson Space Center, which is in Houston. An employee by the name of Frank Shaw had an encounter with what he described as a gargoyle. He's leaving work and he's walking to his car, and as he's approaching his car, he just happens to take a look around at the buildings, and he noticed perched on top of one of the buildings was this huge monster that he said he could only describe as a gargoyle. It had big wings, it had horns, and he said that it was staring directly at him. And for some reason, he got he had a feeling that the creature was taking pleasure in the fact that he was afraid of him. But come on. Like, you're seeing a monster across a thing, and you look at each other, and you're scared shitless, and you're like, you know what? He's probably liking the fact that I'm scared shitless. Like, fuck off. He doesn't know. I thought that's a weird thing to add to this story. But he said that they were looking at each other for a few seconds, and then the gargoyle opened its wings, and he said that when it opened its wings, it sounded like dry paper. Once the gargoyle spread its wings, he kind of realized that he had been locked in eye contact with the creature, and he started to kind of come out of it. So he ran to his car, got in, started it, cruised out of there, and went home. He didn't look behind him to see if he was being followed. He just went home. So because he's a NASA employee, obviously he wants to keep things I shouldn't say under wraps, but he doesn't want to come off sounding like he's crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be the guy to tell his boss that he was attacked by a gargoyle.
Yeah. Even though it happened at work, but he didn't want to, it's not something he wanted to bring up. So he kind of debated for a little bit, but he said that it was having an effect on him, the fact that he had seen this and he couldn't talk to anybody, and he had no idea what it was. So eventually he broke down and he talked to his boss. He actually said that he was relieved that he did because he found out that he wasn't the only one that had this sighting. And there were other employees at the same facility who witnessed the same creature. And it turned out that earlier on, there were 2 guard dogs on the campus, and they had been mutilated and all their blood had been taken out.
Wasn't that right where in the same area he saw the gargoyle as well?
Yeah. Yep. And they attributed those attacks to this creature. And he found out that they had a secret file that was created because of this creature being sighted. But that's all hearsay because that's never been released to the public.
Right.
But later on, after he thought everything had been said and done, he was asked to come in front of NASA security people that came in from Arizona. And he said he was interrogated by them and basically threatened and told that he had better not tell anyone or him and his family could get into some trouble. So he waited a while before he came out, and now the story's out. But the whole story is pretty much hearsay, though, because he's the only one who's ever reported this, and NASA will not confirm or deny any sightings of this creature.
Yeah, but I don't expect them to either.
Yeah.
I was stoked to go from not thinking there were really any quote unquote authentic gargoyle sightings to one that talks about NASA actually having a file on one attacking guard dogs.
Yeah, and it's like the Mothman thing. Remember the Mothman attacked the German Shepherd as well?
Yeah, that was one of the first things that went down, right?
Yeah. So what if it is the same thing? What if it's just because, I mean, really think about the shape of the Mothman. It's a humanoid being, either gray or black, with red glowing eyes and wings. And then think about seeing that crouched down on a rooftop from across a parking lot. It's going to look a lot like a gargoyle, especially when it spreads its wings.
Most definitely. And it could look like that if somebody who's seeing this thing hasn't heard of Mothman and doesn't have that they can pull up as a reference.
Yeah. I mean, I would say a gargoyle would be a pretty good way to describe it, especially, like I said, if it's crouching on top of a building from a distance.
Yeah, humanoid body. I mean, I try to do a little bit more research on this area because I found this case really fascinating. And I guess there's an area of Texas called Dunlavy. And they say that there's an area where the streets are infested with gargoyles. They say from West Gray all the way down to West Alabama, the buildings are covered with gargoyles. So maybe this is just a reference that this guy pulled from his head because he's around them. Maybe if he knew about Mothman or some other type of creature.
That'd be more likely to say that. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I found this report on plenty of websites and plenty of places, but one of the first things that came up, it's a pretty common Mothman website that I visit to read up on Mothman stuff, but they cover flying humanoids too, and this story was there. So again, it started off with a link to Mothman.
Yeah, there could be a lot of things that like the what was the one in Chernobyl? The Blackbird of Chernobyl.
Yeah.
And Mothman, when Mothman was first reported, weren't they calling it Birdman or something?
Yeah, the press originally called it Birdman, but people were like, that sounds dumb. I was like, DC will probably jump on it. Hey-o!
But
nerd joke. But reading about this case and just looking up gargoyle stuff, there was one case that I kind of remembered, and it being a gargoyle, I remember instantly just not really giving a shit. And of course, it's just photographic evidence. We've talked about how much we really can't trust that shit in this day and age because of Photoshop and all those types of things. But they called it a demon. But again, on a website that covered flying humanoids, I guess the people who study this shit weren't calling it a demon. They were calling it a gargoyle. But this one, came out in 2017 from Arizona. I just sent you the picture, Mike. I just grabbed this one real quick, but when you see it, you'll remember it. I think we talked about this on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's definitely fake, and it's definitely a demon.
Not a gargoyle.
Nope, that is 100% demonic entity straight from the pits of hell to wreak havoc on the world of man. But it's also fake, so I don't think we need to worry about that right now.
Another story I came across from modern days is one called the Galloway photo. And funny enough, I spent 3 days trying to look for this fucking photo and I couldn't find it. But it comes from 2015 from a dude named David Black. He gave his name and everything. He lives in Little Egg Harbor, New Jersey. And he said he was driving home from work and he was passing through a city called Galloway when he saw, quote, what he thought was a llama running in and out of the trees on the side of the road. And he continues, I was just driving past the golf course in Galloway on Route 9 when I had to shake my head a few times when I thought I saw a llama. If that wasn't enough, it spread out leathery wings and flew off over the golf course. And he managed to take a photo of it with his phone and send it to a website called njnewjersey.com, where they shared the story. He swore that the photos were not faked. In the article, he was asked about the authenticity of the photos. And he said, quote, I'm not looking for anything in return. I just thought someone else could maybe explain this in a more rational way. I swear it's not photoshopped or a staged thing. People have said it's faked, but it's not. I'm honestly just looking for an explanation for what I saw. And again, to hear about somebody actually grabbing a photo of something like this, even though like you talked about the Arizona one, you said it's obviously fake. I think the Arizona one looks good. I like it. I don't believe it.
Dude, this one, the Galloway photo, looks like a goddamn pinata.
Does it? Did you find it? Is that the one where it's? Oh, God damn it! There's one I
look.
Fucking
Just
hate.
do a Google search for Galloway photo creature.
Okay.
And there's gonna be one that just looks like a flying goat. But if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the one that it does look like a flying horse thing, but it looks like a pinata.
He also linked his case to the Jersey Devil. He said it looked like the Jersey. Okay, see, I was so sad.
I would say it would be like what the Jersey Devil is described as, because it's always described as having a horse head and wings.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the photo now, and I've seen this before, and I'm sad that that's the Galloway photo, because I remember when that happened, me and you laughed at that so hard. We called it like a goth pinata or something like that. It's just terrible. But I mean, he gave his name and was like, yeah, somebody just explained it to me. It's like, yeah, you threw a doll in the air, you asshole, and took a photo. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's what it looks like. It looks like he took a stuffed animal, threw some wings on it, and just kind of gave it a toss. And was like, yeah, fly, Jersey Devil, fly.
Make me millions with your mystic form.
Yeah. How's that working out for him, I wonder? But then again, watch this be like completely authentic and we're shitting all over it. And it's like this weird fucking monkey flying horse beast.
Yeah. It just looks silly though. I mean, God damn it. Okay, why can't I think of the name? We had the dude on the show.
George Adamski.
No.
Billy Mayer.
Yeah, it just has like a Billy Mayer feel to it. It just looks too good to be true. So much so it looks fake, which is a weird thing that our brains probably do. We'll never fucking believe anything that's real with photos. So, but I came actually across another case from 2017 that took place in Spain. Cryptozoology News interviewed a young man named Alex Narasik, who claimed that he was waking up one morning at 1 in September 2010 by a strange spine-tingling noise that resembled the shrieking of a woman. And this sound came outside his window. So he got up to look outside of his window, and he says he saw, quote, what looked like a dog with wings perched on a building across the street. And he said the creature was rather large with a, quote, thick, short beak a stretched head.
A beaked dog?
Yeah. And a stretched head. Its body was bulky and a pinkish color, and it did not seem to have front legs.
I don't know about you, but this doesn't sound even remotely like any dog that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Me neither.
No front legs, a beak, and it's pink.
He says that
what kind of dogs does this guy...
It says that its wings were curved with a span of around 2 to 3 meters with a long, thin tail. And he says that its movements were slow and heavy and that it almost acted and looked like a robot.
So first it looks like a dog. Now it looks like a robot. This guy doesn't know. This guy's a crackpot.
Maybe some bad translation or something like that. But he said it just flew off.
No, the translation is perfect. The guy just doesn't know what he's talking about. The guy is probably actually an old lady named Agnes who looks out of her blinds to find out what the neighborhood is doing, and then she's like, "Well, it looked like a dog, and it was pink with 2 legs and a beak, like dogs are, and it had wings, and did I mention it looked like a robot?" Well, you just said it looked like a dog. Yes, a dog robot with 2 legs, and it was pink. Agnes, have you been into the sauce again?
They just decided to not print the part where she's like, it had on a pink cocktail dress and was carrying a broadsword.
I swear to God, it was singing Bon Jovi Shot Through the Heart.
It slapped me in the face and told the Sister of Mercies, don't take kindly to charity.
Yeah. Batshit Agnes. Always seeing shit.
But yeah, that dude, the first one in New Jersey, I mean, just because it's New Jersey, him linking it to the Jersey Devil is interesting. And again...
Well, I mean, that one, it fits the description of the Jersey Devil, though. So I think the guy was playing it off like I hear that it looks like the Jersey Devil. Meanwhile, he's like, I'm going to hoax a Jersey Devil sighting. Just you wait. He's like, oh, does it look like the Jersey Devil? That thought never crossed my mind. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, if I would have known that was the goddamn Galway photo, I would have said that's not a gargoyle sighting at all. That's a fucking Jersey Devil sighting. But it's a puppet of a Jersey Devil. So I'm sorry I brought that shitty case up, you guys. Boo on me.
Yeah, boo all over you.
I'd also like to point out how bad I am at using the internet when I said I looked for 3 days for this photo. I mean, I found...
Yeah. I literally put in Galloway photo creature, and then there it was.
I looked at Galloway photo, Galloway monster, Galloway photo, gargoyle. Nothing came up. And I even found like the websites that originally published this shit back then, and they had... the photos were gone. I was like, God damn it. And Mike found it in 30 seconds. So even more way to go me. Batting a fucking 1,000 today.
Yeah. Good for you.
But I found one last case that's pretty recent from 2011, and this one comes from Northern California. But it was reported on a website. She was walking around town with her boyfriend at about 3 a.m. And she said that she heard what sounded like moving leather. And when she looked up to find what was making this noise, she saw a creature, but she said the creature was roughly 7.5 feet tall with a torso similar to, quote, a man's with broad shoulders.
You know, they had octopus arms like a man has, and feathers on its chest, just like every man in the world.
It was wearing a James Bond tuxedo.
It has a jockstrap for a face. I don't know why.
But she's when she saw it clearly, she screamed, "Look at that!" And she said that even her boyfriend got a really good look at it. And once it noticed them and heard her scream, it flew away, never to be seen again.
So what is it?
I don't know. I mean,
I gotta know. I need somebody to tell me what it is.
Me too, because I mean, like, with these cases happening in modern times, Almost everybody knows what fucking Mothman is. Everybody knows what a fucking gargoyle is. And we've got a few people saying that they're gargoyles. And, and even using his cryptids as a reference. And to me, that's cool that they're doing that. But that also says that it's not a Mothman, but it was like a Mothman. It's not the Jersey Devil, but it was like the Jersey Devil. I mean, even the guys from Spain's weird description of it sounding heavy and lumbered and almost robotic. Like, I mean, could this thing still be in a stone form?
Ooh, a living statue.
Yeah, that's what a gargoyle is. Maybe he caught it just as the wee morning hours and sunlight dissipated at around 1 a.m. And officially that's when gargoyles can transform from stone to their fleshy form and go fight crime in New York.
Yeah, but they can't get too far from their castle. They got to be able to get back to the castle before morning.
Right.
Otherwise, they get smashed by angry Vikings or whatever.
But it's weird. Like I said, I didn't expect to find anything when I found the NASA case. I thought it was bizarre. And that guy said it was a gargoyle. I look around, do some digging. There's gargoyles all over the goddamn area. I talked to Mike from the Text Files, and he says he's gone to that NASA place on field trips as a kid. So there's gargoyles there, but it's just weird to come across so many cases to where I guess the descriptions are so weird they didn't know what to call it but a gargoyle. Do you give any gargoyle credit to these stories, or are you just going to go with flying humanoid?
Yeah, I'm not going to call them gargoyles because I don't think that's what, I don't think they're gargoyles. I think if it's something, if it's a real sighting and not just like, because this story the story of the NASA one came from Shaw's daughter. It didn't even come from him. So who knows really? But I think that it could be similar things that are being seen. Like there was a picture of Mothman on the Golden Gate Bridge. I think that could be a gargoyle.
Yeah, I remember that one, and that looks more like a gargoyle than Mothman now that you mention it.
And then there was the all the sightings in Chicago, and that could be the same thing.
Yeah, that place is covered in gargoyles.
So it's it could be that Mothman is part of this whole thing. Maybe they're aliens. Like I said before on the show with Indrid Cold being the cosmic ringmaster and Mothman was a circus animal that escaped and he had to come back and collect it.
Maybe
there's more of these things and they just kind of get dropped off here and there, or they escape here and there, and they've got to get collected and rounded up, and that's why they never stick around forever. It's it's seen a few times and then that's that. Indrid Cold comes and scoops him up and he's like, bad gargoyle Mothman thing. Bad. And he hits it with a rolled up newspaper. It's like, oh. And he gives it a German Shepherd and it goes on its way and it's all happy. It's like, yay, I'll go in my cage now. German Shepherd, my favorite.
Yeah, just misidentification of other Mothmen. People are saying Mothman doesn't exist anymore and he's being seen all over the goddamn place. Chasing NASA scientists, eating dogs, spooking lovers that walk in the night.
Yeah. Pinching people's butt when they least expect it.
Waking up Spanish dudes.
Making people drop their babies. Sneaking up behind their car.
That's not funny. I didn't mean to laugh.
Hey, the baby was fine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I restate my laugh. Silly baby. Your mom should have rolled or something. How funny would that be if Mothman did that on purpose? Like it wasn't his presence. What if he like crept up and he just like clapped his hands or something like that?
He doesn't have the vocal cords to say ooga booga 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 booga. So he just hides behind cars and he tries to pop up quick, but it's really like a slow lumbering movement, and he's just like, oh god damn it. I was trying to startle you. Instead, I absolutely terrified you and made you drop your baby. Fuck.
I'm so sorry. He reaches down and pick it up.
And she's like, no, get away from my baby, you monster. He's like, I'm just trying to help, ma'am. Just trying to help. You're being a bitch right now. Then she kicks him in the junk. He's like, oh, god damn it. Pranks gone wrong.
Thank God my penis is not located on my crotch.
Yeah. That just hurt like a regular kick. Still not cool, lady. I know what you're trying to do. And then he starts peeking in the window. It's like, oh my God, what's going on in here? And then that whole thing happened. They're just screaming outside. And he's like, I don't understand.
Ma'am, you've actually injured my balls. I'm going to need you to come out of there. I've called the police.
I would like to exchange insurance information, please. This is not covered under my HMO.
Yeah, I definitely love this to be more gargoyle-y, these new modern sightings, but I like the NASA one. That one's pretty cool. Even just the spooky claim that NASA had a file on it because something's been eating their dogs. That's a cool touch. But it could be a cool story from a dad who works nights at NASA to tell his kids.
Yeah. And he's like, I can't tell anybody, so keep it under wraps. And she's like, I will, Dad. And then the dad's old and senile, and she's like, hey, guys, I got a story. And then it becomes known as the NASA Gargoyle.
Yeah, and it's him going senile gets so bad, he's like, guys, I'm the gargoyle. Yeah, if you guys have any other stories of gargoyle sightings, let us know, because that would be cool. I'm down with the whole WB aspect of crime fighting gargoyles, or ones that just scare the shit out of people. That would be, I don't know. What do you think about that? All these other creatures that are weird, Mothman, they appear in history in like cave paintings, but a gargoyle is like a common fixture, made from humanity, a man-made thing. And to have something like that to appear and start being real, you're going to go tulpamancy. I know that.
That's always a possibility. But so is like the window things. Like the window areas where things are able to come through, or maybe someone initiated a doorway to get something through. I mean, there's no shortage of books out there where you can learn to summon spirits and things. So what if it's one of these things that got summoned somehow and it's just kind of taking on a somewhat physical shape? Or maybe it's an alien. And that's why it was at NASA, because it's like, hey, what's your space program? And
I'm on my smoke break.
Yeah, he's like a spy, and he's spying on the American space program, and he's gonna go back and be like, these guys are fucking idiots.
I made one guy shit his pants and run to his car.
He was terrified, and
I was laughing. I think he can tell.
They don't even have man space travel past their moon.
Right.
They don't even know about hyperspace. These guys are idiots.
They did feed me some dogs, though.
Yeah, very tasty dogs. Exquisite, even. Go get you some. That's his Yelp review for Earth on the intergalactic Yelp. Shitty people, delicious dogs.
If you go, be sure to hit up Texas. Lovely German Shepherds.
Yeah, and then Mothman 7003 chimes in. Go to Virginia as well. Delicious dogs.
Delicious dogs.
And then someone from Botswana chimes in, and same thing. Basically, they come to the agreement that all dogs on Earth are absolutely delicious, and the future invasion is going to be so that they can eat our dogs. They don't give a shit about us. They don't give a shit about our land, our resources. They just want to eat our goddamn dogs. We bred them to be two delicious people. We didn't know, but goddamn are they delicious.
Dude, can you imagine just sitting in your house and an alien kicking in your front door and just running past you, slapping you in the face and just grabbing your dog?
I'm like,
and
oh my
leaving?
God, it's an alien. And he just scoops up my dog under one arm and out the door. I'm like, what are you doing? That's my dog.
Yeah.
And also, what are you doing?
You try to stop it, it just kicks you in a leg and runs. You're all, ow, hey, my dog.
And then the dog was never seen again. I look out the street and I just see like an alien coming out of every house with dogs under their arms.
They just start eating them before they get back to the ship, and they start falling asleep and getting all fat. And we just start kicking the shit out of all these big fat overstuffed aliens.
Yeah, stupid gargoyle aliens. Pace yourselves. Go into a food coma. It's not a good look when you're trying to invade a planet.
Dummies.
Stupid aliens. What do they know any damn way?
Yeah. They're eating our dogs. Fucking idiots.
They just know how to fly intergalactic space and eat dogs. That's all they know.
That's got to be a dog planet, right? Where there's just dogs everywhere. They'd be like people-sized dogs. They could just have way more food.
Maybe there's a planet that orbits Sirius that is an actual dog planet.
Go there, assholes.
Yeah. Leave our dogs alone. Go to Planet Dog and eat the dogs on Planet Dog. But they're probably not as tasty as us because they're probably like sophisticated dogs, so they lead a different lifestyle. Our dogs are the delicious ones.
Yeah, they work out and their meat's all tough. They exercise regularly and train some type of alien dog martial art.
2 legs and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind. Come on back, aliens. Eat the dogs.
Yeah. Eat our dogs, you sons of bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.